Okay, everybody, welcome to Kids Paint Night. Today we're going to be doing a koala. So this is what it's going to look like. Everybody should have their canvas going this way. And we're going to need the big brush first. Try to get a big flat brush. And we're going to need the white and the green. And I'm going to show you how to get started. And then I'm going to switch to one that's finished so we don't have to take as long. Okay, so put your white on your plate and take some green on your plate as well. And what you do is you take your white and a little bit of green, and you're going to do your whole canvas up and down only with the white and the green. So just dip it in the white, then dip a little in the green, and you're going to want it to get all streaky, so there's going to be light spots and dark spots. Just like that. If it starts getting too dark, then add more white. If it gets too pale, add a little bit more green as you're going along. So you're just going to keep going back and forth, up and down on the whole canvas until it's completely filled. And then you are going to let it dry. So when you're done, it's going to look like this. See how it's got some white spots and then it's got some green spots? That's what you want. Okay? So once you are all finished with yours and it's dry, then come back and go on to the next step, okay? So the next step we're going to do is we are going to paint the branch and the koala, but we're going to do them in white. We're going to do them in white first. So take your white, and I'm going to take a larger round brush. And I'm going to make my branch. It should go down to the bottom to the corner here. And it should go just a little bit short of the top up here. So do that. Don't do it like completely straight. You want it like a real branch, a little bit curvy. And then the top of the branch up here should be more narrow, and it should be wider down here. So make it narrow up there, and then as you gradually get down, you make it wider like that. Okay? And when you're done with that, you can go ahead and paint it all in white. You don't have to make it really thick. It's just basically so we know where the branch is. We're going to put the koala down, and the brown would have covered the green okay. The green would not have got covered up very well with the koala. So you probably would see the green through the koala. So that's why we're putting down the layer of white first. Like I said, it shouldn't be straight. It should have some curves in it. And you don't have to worry about covering where the branch is as well. But definitely where the koala is. Okay, so that's going to be that. I'm going to switch back to my round brush. And I am going to paint the outline of the koala first. So the koala, you can figure out where you should go on there, is just a circle for the bottom that kind of goes into the branch. So just make a circle. About like that. And then I'm going to make another circle for his head. Like that. And then I'm going to make 2 smaller circles for his ears. So approximately like that. Okay? You can always adjust them as you go along. You need to make them a little bigger. And then go ahead and take your white and fill him in. You need the white because the blue might not cover up the green too well. And normally when you paint something round, you want to see the brush strokes the same shape as that you're painting. So if you're painting something round, you're going to want to kind of make more circular brush strokes. Doesn't matter as much for the underneath, for the white. But when you put the color on top, it'll look better. So go ahead and do the white head. And try not to make him too heavy in the paint. The heavier you make it, the longer it's going to take to dry. Just want to get a nice layer down. And then don't forget to do his ears. All right. And now we also have to do his front paw that's holding on. Because he's holding on to the branch. The other one will be in here. So that already is covered in the white anyway. Okay. So once your koala is all painted in with your white, go ahead and let it dry. And we are going to take our brown and fill in our branch. So take the brown and paint the branch, but some of the white is going to come through, and that's okay because that's just making some natural color variations in the branch. But you may want to wait till yours is a little drier. Okay, when you get to the paws, you have to be careful not to paint them in brown. I'm going to kind of go around them to begin with. And I would suggest with your brown, slightly overlap your white so your white doesn't show underneath on the edge. So just like that. You can always go back over it with more brown if you didn't wait for your white to dry. All right, so now I'm going to skip over that part and go down here. Okay. Now, I'm going to turn this on its side so I can reach it better, and I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. As soon as I do a little bit more. All right. I'm going to switch to a round brush. And I'm going to be very careful, and I'm going to paint around where his paw would be holding onto the branch. And then the same thing with his bottom paw, his foot paw. I'm going to kind of outline it like that, and then go back and fill it in with the white, with the brown over the white. Okay. Now I'm just touching up my lines a little bit. Now you can go back with this when it's dry and go back and touch it up with some more brown if you need another layer. All right, we also had a couple branches. So we have one coming out from about here. And we had one coming up here. Okay. All right. Well, we're trying to wait for our koala to dry a little while we're doing that part. And since he's still drying, I'm going to go on to the leaves because it wouldn't, oops, I need a little bit of that brown. We could do the leaves now. I might not be in the same order as I have it on your sheet, but that's okay. All right, so I still have some green on my dish, so I can use those for the leaves. But I am going to also put a little brown on my dish. All right. Leave that open. You could take your green and you could add a tiny bit of brown to it. Just a tiny bit. Just to make it a darker green. All right. So now he's got a couple leaves coming out from down here. You can make them however big you want. And make another one here. This is going to be a little bigger. I'm going to make that one a little bigger too. All right. Okay, there's one. My problem is I used a slightly too big of a brush. Okay. All right, we got two there, and now I also need two of them from here. All right, just like that. Now we're gonna let those dry for a little before we put on the lines inside of them. Okay, we're gonna hope that our koala is dry enough for now. All right, so make sure you get all that brown and black, brown and green off your brush. Certainly don't want him to mix in with the koala. Okay, so now we need our blue. I'm going to Okay. I'm also going to put a little bit more white. Yeah, I'm just going to use that white. That's okay. It's got a little green in it, but I'll try to skip the parts that have all the green. Alright, so I'm going to take some of my white and some of my blue, and I'm going to lighten it and make a lighter color. And I think I maybe made it too dark still. That's not bad. Okay. So now what you want to do is you want to paint in your koala, and I would do the middle first. Remember, stick to painting round because he's got a round shape. It's okay if the white is not dry all the way and it mixes in. Okay. Now, I'm going to do his head. Now, it's up to you how dark your little koala is. You could have added more white and made him lighter. Or you could leave him the way he, you know, how dark you have it. Like I have mine I have mine darker this time, but that's okay. We're going to go back though, we're going to add a little bit of color to it so it's not solid. Okay, now painting his ears. I should not have painted in the middle, but I already did it, so I'll go back and cover it up with white. Alright, and now his paw. Oops, got too much paint on my brush. My paint is very lumpy today. I have older paint. Alright, so do his top paw, and now his bottom paw. And make sure if your brown is still wet, be very careful you don't get your brown into him. Alright, now mine is a little darker than what I would like it. So what I'm going to do is while it's still wet, I am going to take white. I'm going to put a little white in them to kind of lighten them up a little bit. If yours is real light, you can do the opposite and add a little bit more blue to him and darken him a little bit. So depending on what color he is, or maybe you just like him the color that he is, the color you already got him, that's fine. But you also don't want them completely solid, so you kind of want the variations of color in them. I'm going to put a little white on his paws. A little bit on his head. And I'm also going to put the white in the ear, so I could put the pink down later. Okay, so that's not bad. But now also that I have some light spots, I am going to take straight blue with a smaller brush actually. Get my smaller brush out. Okay. I'm going to take my smaller brush and I'm going to take just the blue with no white in it. And I'm going to make some lines, because like where his bottom of his leg is, he would kind of have a little bit of a line because he's sitting and his legs bunched up. So kind of like that, so you can see where his bottom leg is. He also is going to need some fur. So what you can do is with a small brush, just kind of make some lines and kind of fluff them up a little bit around the edges. Kind of like that. You don't need to do everywhere. Do it on his head a little bit. Do it on his ears. He's got to have fluffy ears. And do a little bit up on his head. All right, see, it fluffed him up like that. Also make a more, take the dark and make a little bit more accents on him, just to highlight things like his, where his front paw is. See how I put a little line there, so it kind of distinguishes it from the body. A little line on the foot to just to show it off a little bit. Oops, I forgot to do this side of his face with the fluffing. All right. So we're also going to go back and we're going to do some of the fluffy part in white as well, but we're going to wait and let the blue dry a little bit. I'm going to take some of the black. Take some black on my plate. You don't need very much at all. Okay. And I'm going to paint his nose in. He's got a big oval nose. Okay, and now I'm going to take a little bit of the blue and kind of mix it in a little bit. You can't hardly see it, but just to lighten it a tiny bit with his blue, just to show off the blue. Then I'm going to take a little bit of black and make his mouth. Okay. Okay. Now we need white. And we need eyes. If yours isn't dry enough, wait a little longer to do his eyes. Way too thick. Okay. Sometimes the paint gets thicker as it gets older. All right. So if yours is dry enough to put his eyes on, go right ahead. Okay. Now I'm going to take a little bit of the pink. And we're going to do his ears. So just add, oh no, I have a little border on there. Okay. Take a little bit of the pink. And you don't need too much. And I just flicked it on the thing here. Okay, wait a minute. Let me erase that real quick. Okay, I made a mess and I fixed it. So now I'm going to take a little bit of the pink. Not too much. And the outer part of his ear, I just want to brush a little bit of the pink in and make it a little colorful in there. Don't cover the whole ear, just cover part of the ear. It's not working. You can always go back, if you put too much pink in, you can go back over it with the white. Okay. Because that's too like straight of a line. We don't want to do a straight line with that. I'm going to let it dry a little bit and I'm going to go back and put some white over it. Alright, so take your skinny brush 2 and take some white. And when we made the dark fluffy parts before, now we're going to go back and we're going to make some white. So there's some variation. Just like that. Doesn't have to be exactly like every other one. Just kind of fill them in here and there. Just to fluff them up a little bit. There, that helped. Kind of softened it up a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to let his nose and eyes dry before I finish those off. So I'm going to work on the leaves some more. So I'm going to take a skinny brush and with the brown, I'm going to make, if we need any stems on there, we could put the stems on. Oops, I accidentally got the pink up there too. But you can take the brown and make the line kind of through it. Look like the vein on the leaf. Just try to do it real skinny. The skinniest brush you have and not too much paint at one time. Okay. All right. And now you could take a little bit of the white, mix it in with some green and make some lighter green. And you can make some more lines on the leaf just to give it some more texture, more accents. Let's make it look more natural. Okay. Just adds a little highlights to it. going to pretend like my nose is all dry on mine. So I can do little nostrils. Let's make 2 little lines for nostrils like that. And then for the middle of the eyes, I would just take the back of my brush, dip it in the black, and then dip it in his eye. There you go. Then you don't have a chance of making it smear all over by just dotting it. Okay. And I believe our koala is finished. Now optional if you want to put some flowers down here. It's a little bare down here. If you don't want to put any flowers down there, you don't have to. But that's all I did was take a little bit of the blue and a little bit of the pink and mix it together and make a purpley color. See, just made a purple color. I'm going to turn it so you can do it this way, reach it. In fact, you know what? This time I'm just going to make one flower. So just kind of make like one big petal. Just going to turn it after all. I think 5 petals always is good. You should always do an odd amount. Then when that dries, what you do is you go back with it and you take some of that color and you add it to a bunch of white and you make the same color but very pale. So like that. Okay, and then you're going to make the petals between, you could do 2 different ways. You could do them between each of those, but in this flower, it's on top of each of those petals. So like that. The other flower we did in one of our other ones, the petals were between the other ones. So like that. And then when you're done with that, if it's dry, you can go back with some white and you could just dab it to be the middle. But wait till yours is dry. Because right now mine's not even showing up because it's all too wet. Okay. And the last step is if you don't have much color variation in your tree trunk, what you can do is mix a little bit of white with your brown. And you can make some lighter little squishy lines through it. So I'm just going to take the brown, I'm going to add a little bit of white to it, just to make a little streaky color. And you can just kind of go like this to give your branch some texture from the bark. Just make some little slightly wiggly lines through it, like that. All right, your koala is finished. So thanks for coming, and I will see you next week.